Welcome to the Glen Eira Seniors Festival. Throughout October, we're presenting an online festival program, including information sessions, performances, movies, and a range of in-conversation talks, plus more. The full Seniors Festival program is available on Council's website and in the current edition of the Glen Eira News. Our theme for 2021, Healthy Ageing, recognises the resilience of the Glen Eira community and encourages everyone to stay connected by taking part in a range of online programs and events. I wish to commence with acknowledgement of country. Glen Eira Council acknowledges the people of the Kulin Nation as the traditional owners and custodians and pays our respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. We acknowledge and uphold their continuing relationship to land and to waterways and extend our respect to First Nations people. Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples are guided by, have deep respect for and celebrate their elders. We hope you enjoy the event coming up as part of our celebration of and for seniors in Glen Eira.
Hi everyone, welcome along to another session for our Glen Eira City Council's Seniors Festival. Today we've got Cathy from Live Life Psychology down in Ormond, and my name is Rachel. I'm a representative from Glen Eira Leisure. Today's topic, we're going to be talking about some strategies and things that you can do to maintain connections for your well-being. It's been a really challenging 18 months for all of us in different ways, different forms for all ages and stages. So we're going to use the next little bit to just have some chats about all things, strategies that you can use at your home. So let's start with Cathy. And how are you today, Cathy?
Well, I was going to say really good, but I guess I'm in the middle of this lockdown like everyone else, so that would be slight exaggeration. I would say I'm okay. Something I've been saying a bit is surviving, and I guess what we're going to be talking about today is a really good word to describe probably how I feel. If you say, how are you today again, next time I'm going to say, I'm languishing.
Languishing, what a great place to start. So for those who are familiar or unfamiliar, languishing is a word to help describe how you might be feeling at home. You may have heard it or you may not have. So Cathy, can you let's start there. What is languishing?
Well, I think sort of, if you look up the dictionary languishing version, it's something to do with not progressing or failing to progress. So I think it's a word that most people have probably heard in the background. The economy is languishing, or the whatever is languishing, but it's a word I think that's become really important in mental health recently. It's not a diagnosable sort of thing like depression or anxiety is, but it's a state of an experience or, a point in time that you just don't feel like you're getting anywhere. You might feel flat, foggy, empty, aimless, or as the young people would say, meh. That was a word my kids taught me, or blah, like we just don't have, a lot of high energy or excitement or anything, but we're not quite feeling as flat or as low as a depressed kind of feeling where we're helpless or hopeless or, really down. We might know that we're okay, but we just can't thrive, so the opposite end would be thriving. And we're somewhere in between.
Yeah, and it's those feelings and the lack of, social connection that we have, or those experiences where we get that joy, and that might be the, routine that we get going into our workplaces, or, those short, sharp interactions that give you another level of joy. So to help manage that feeling, and particularly for those checking in with us today for the Seniors Festival, if we're feeling that sort of lack of, drive, or like you said, thriving, what can we do to help manage that?
Well, I think, first of all, let's acknowledge that it's a really important word to kind of help us feel like we're not strange, or there's not something really terrible going on. We've just come out of, 18 months or so of very, severe isolation, stress, fear. When at some point, probably before people were able to be vaccinated, etc., people would have been very fearful of developing, the coronavirus. So we were initially, I think, 2020, we saw a lot of people feeling really highly anxious, very stressed. And when we're anxious, that part of the brain called the amygdala sends off a message saying, this is an alarm system for our body and we should fight, whatever the thing is that's in front of us, whether it's a bear or a coronavirus, or we should run, fight, flight or flee, people have heard. And I think we've had all of that. And it's this year, people seem to not be as anxious, but more the flat meh that we're talking about in terms of that languishing feeling. So if we just acknowledge to ourselves, it's okay that we're having this. We're not strange or unusual or weak or sick or anything else. We are fatigued. Yeah. We're really emotionally and psychologically fatigued. And so I think that in itself helps people a little bit. So go, well, I'm feeling what most people are feeling. I've never seen such a common sort of response from clients when they come in. Often they're either really depressed or really anxious or really stressed. This is I don't know what I'm feeling, Cathy. I just feel Yeah. So just know it's okay. It doesn't feel good, and we don't want to hang on to that feeling for too long, but it's a really normal feeling at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just that whole piece around sort of, it's been such an endurance race and, emotionally just switching off. And, we've spoken about this in the past, but finding sort of small wins to try and pick you up, but acknowledge when you're feeling down. And if you're feeling down, just rest,
Yes. Go with it. Listen to your body a bit, but also talk kindly to it. That's why I think knowing that it's languishing and is meaning that we give ourselves permission there to not be harsh on ourselves for feeling this way, like, I should be able to pull myself up. Other years I've been able to do this or do that, or I should be doing exercise, or we don't go hard on ourselves when we know that it's something that's happening for a reason. The brain and the body are fatigued. So you asked before about what we can do. One of obviously there's lots of other things that you and I have talked about in the past that we can do, all the activities, getting exercise, walks, walking with someone so you connect, dancing, all those lovely, fun, active things. Obviously, that's really good. But if you just can't even muster that kind of energy when you're feeling this sense of, languishing, going into what we call, it's almost like a meditative state. It's where the brain is actively doing something reasonably repetitively. It doesn't have to be learning something new, but it can go into something that's fairly calm but familiar and comfortable, so that we tune out a little bit to the world. Turn off other devices, the radio, the television. Don't listen to the news for a while. Give yourself a good half an hour to an hour a day of what we call going into a state of flow. Right. That tends to be the best for languishing, because it's not pushing ourselves where we're kind of doing that self-talk of you've got to push through it, you've got to do more. If you can do that, great. But for a lot of people, they end up just feeling worse because they can't push themselves when they're feeling so, flat or foggy. Yeah. So state of flow is a particular type of mental state where the brain's not working too hard, but it's focused, and it's doing something that's almost mindless, but not, it's not just not thinking of anything. It's doing something like those adult colouring books. They're sort of the easiest ones, I think, to come to mind for me, because it's, creating colour and patterns and things. And so there's concentration, but you don't have to stress. It's not stress concentration. But other activities, doing puzzles, the great ones, and I think everybody got really into them in 2020, and this year I think everyone's put them away and let the dust collect. So pull them out again, swap them with a friend, and doing something again. You sort of mindlessly using your mind, but not in a stressful way. And crossword puzzles, all those sorts of things, gardening or potting or weeding, those things where we're doing something, but we're not actually having to think too hard about it.
Yes, and getting outdoors, like you said, the benefits of vitamin D and just that fresh air, we feel like we're a little bit trapped at the moment. And with the additional sort of kilometers that we can access now, exploring new places to walk and new parks to explore, and doing that, like you said, with technology, without technology, I found to be really beneficial. And just being with nature and just looking at the colors and, what's going on around us, as opposed to maybe a podcast. Or whilst that is great on the days where you feel like it, sometimes it's just get outside, go for a walk, and doing that exercise without having it be, this is your exercise for today.
Yeah, and having a focus. So things like, because the walks, I think most people have been really good at trying to get out, but they can get a bit tedious after a while, especially when you were just doing the same old place. So I've made a habit of opening up my maps, Google Maps or something equivalent, and picking somewhere that I haven't been before, a park that I haven't been before, and then going and studying the new space, so that you've got something that energizes you a bit. Or the other thing is actually picking a purpose to the walk. On today's walk, I want to find as many species of bird life that I can. I'm not a bird watcher, but I give myself little tasks. Or how many dogs can I count, or how many big dogs to small, just something that keeps my mind, doing something. But it's a nice and a comfortable and not a stressful activity.
Fantastic. So if we move away from languishing, and so team, if you have any comments or thoughts about any of that, please comment below or let us know via the channels. But there's something else, in this connection space, and that's that we might be feeling sort of isolated and lonely through these times. So when we're feeling, that we have that lack of connection, we know that we can use our phones to contact our family. It might be Zoom dates, but we know everyone's getting over the screen times. How can we better manage those feelings of loneliness, through these times, and acknowledging those things too?
Yeah, I guess the first thing to remember, similarly to what we've just discussed, is everybody at some point is feeling this sense of isolation or loneliness. You can be living with a family in your home or living with someone else, and you can still feel really lonely, because the flatness that everyone's feeling means that we're not making strong connections. Our energy's low and we don't feel connected to somebody. So acknowledging that and saying, again, it's fairly normal that I'm feeling that. What can I now do? Now that I accept it and I'm okay with it, what can I now do? And I've really been encouraging a lot of the people seeing me to do something a bit more radical than what they normally would. If there's family out there, cousins, that you haven't seen for a couple of years, or people that you haven't connected with, that you think, oh, I wonder how they're doing. It's this sort of lockdown period is the perfect excuse to kind of get a little bit out there and send an email or a message to a group of family or friends that you haven't seen for a while, saying, wow, this lockdown's made me feel really kind of isolated. So I've thought to reach out and just see how everyone is. What have you been doing? What's your favorite, tip for getting through this crazy period of time for us all? And when we get out of this, when we are allowed to travel and see people and catch up, let's organize a catch up for the 30 cousins we haven't seen, once everything's safe. So it's a perfect time to do the reaching out rather than just experience the loneliness.
Yes.
Because remember, people at the other end of you reaching out are feeling lonely too. So you're doing them a favor by reaching out.
Definitely. I think that's a great tip. And, Facebook helps with that. But then in addition to that, it's that personalized connection, and it's the one-on-one, where it's not just putting it out to the world, but actually making a conscious effort to reach out to individuals. And I know my grandfather, he's, messaging his brother over in the, UK, and those sorts of things. And they go back to memories of when they were children and feeling those feelings of, what it was like to be there and how far they've come since then, and those sorts of things, and making them feel good. And then grandpa likes it on Facebook because he's a crazy Facebook user, which I think is pretty incredible at 94 years old.
Good on him. That's great. Yeah.
Go on.
Anything that creates meaning for someone else to join in will give you the buzz. So you're connecting to them, starting group group chats of either, book clubs or Scrabble groups. There's a lot of online things that you can play with friends, which I'm not so good at, but a lot of people enjoy that. So you can have a little bit of a chat on the side as well as playing the game on your computer. So create those moments for yourself, because you know that everyone else is. I know people have said to me, oh, my grandkids haven't contacted me, or my daughter's just so busy with work. It's that feeling of that languishing that we were talking about, that people just don't even think to reach out because they're so flat themselves. So if it occurs to you that I'm lonely, think of what you can do to connect with somebody else. One of the other things that I use as a tool is to literally, not going mad, but literally have a conversation with yourself out loud if you can. If you're there on your own, talk to yourself as if your version that you're talking to is your best friend.
Yeah.
Not the self that we tell off because they've eaten the extra piece of chocolate, but the self that we say, what would you do in this situation? Or, ask yourself questions that you would ask of a best friend.
Yeah, that's really good advice. I really like that, and talking it out. Yeah, well, and saying how you're feeling. Yeah.
Yes, to your kindest version of yourself.
Yeah, amazing. Good advice. And so if we round this out with sort of self-care, a lot of this is about, surviving through this. Everyone is in survivor mode, and that's where we're feeling that sort of ongoing fatigue, and we're just sort of, the light is at the tunnel, but we've also been here before. So it's hard to wholeheartedly invest in that fact that that light is at the end of the tunnel, but is it really? And those sorts of things. So to help us.
When's the next tunnel there? When's the next tunnel coming?
That's right.
That's what we keep worrying about.
I remember us speaking about that in 2020 and saying, we may be back here again and look at it. But what can we do? What is self-care, and what does that look like for all those tuning in today?
Well, self-care is whatever is going to make you feel like you've taken care of yourself. I was just talking to you before about saying, have a conversation with your kindest self. We've all got different versions of ourselves. Some are a bit harsh, some might be a bit pushy, some might be a bit bossy, but there's always that one part of us that says to a friend, how about you try this, or how about you, have a bath or do this. Use that conversation with yourself. Some of the really common self-care techniques are to things like having a bath, have a bubble bath, or if you like the opposite of that, a cold shower to sort of wake you up and invigorate you. The main thing with any self-care that we do, whether it's reading a book, listening to a podcast, having a walk, getting a bit of that sun, the most important thing to remember is to give yourself permission to be doing whatever that self-care moment is, whether it's closing your eyes and having an afternoon snooze, whatever it might be. Give yourself permission. Too many people go and do an activity and then have guilt in the back of their mind. Gosh, I probably should be preparing the dinner, or I probably should have called Marjorie, or I probably should have done this or that, or and it ruins the time that you've given yourself to have that break or that special moment.
Yes.
Whether it's a facial, or painting your fingernails, or dressing up.
Yes.
I know a lot of families are doing themed nights. We'll have a Mexican night and we'll dress up and cook Mexican food and maybe have a margarita. And there's lots of wonderful things that we can do just to add a little bit of difference. Maybe learn to bake something that you haven't done before.
Yeah.
Learn a different task. Start learning how to play drums. You can Google that and just get your wooden spoons out of the cupboard and start practicing rhythm. And
can confirm I have picked up a ukulele in 2020 and 2021, and I can't say I'm any good at it yet, but I can confirm that I do have one, and it's yellow.
Fabulous.
And another thing that we've started to do is sort of have black showers. So turning off all the senses and putting on music, and putting particular diffuser scents at the bottom of the shower, and just kind of turn off, sort of have the listening to the music, having the no senses, and then the smell, and just that's something we've been doing, myself and my roommate, prior to going to bed, because it finds that it just switches everything off. We're spending a lot of time on the screen with our families, with our friends, with our colleagues, and that is something that we find really just bookends the day. So I definitely recommend it. It's been very
that's a great one. Yeah. Anything that I mean, what you've just said is actually engaging a different part of the brain, focusing on different sensory systems, blocking out some others that we normally use. So anything that changes what we're doing, like I say to people, even if you're watching a movie, sit in a different spot, sit in a different way, sit on the floor, lie on the floor, put your body in unusual or different contortions or positions, so that it tells the body, I'm here, I'm awake, I'm feeling something different, rather than just the blah, blah, blah of everyday life that we do, everything the same. Absolutely. So just move it up, put music on, dance, even if you don't really dance, just move your body in a different way.
Absolutely.
Sing. I can't sing, but it's a good thing to do.
I can't sing either, but I definitely try. Awesome. So Cathy, thank you very much for your time today. I think some really great strategies for all those watching, team. And if you have any thoughts, comments, feedback, or questions, please don't hesitate to let us know. We'd love to help you out. We're doing what we can to support you through these times. In addition to that, just remember there are heaps of sessions that are available through the Glen Eira Seniors Festival. So make sure you check out the Glen Eira City Council website for those sessions, register to the ones that you're interested in, and stay connected with us. Otherwise, Cathy, thank you again for your time. I hope you have a great afternoon, great day, good evening, and everyone else, take care, stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you very, very soon.
Bye.